Hi everybody, and welcome to College Admissions Snapshot, where today we're going to be profiling Erin. Erin is a junior in high school, and she wants to go to Princeton to play soccer. It's her number one choice, and she wants to get in early. Now, she also likes Brown and Penn, but Princeton's her number one choice. So my goal over the next few minutes is to assess her profile, go through this worksheet, and determine by the end whether I think Erin is an acceptance or a denial. So let's get started. We start above what I call the initial screen with objective academic metrics. How Erin did academically. What are the numbers? What do they look like? And will she even be in a conversation in the Princeton admissions office? We start at the top with GPA. She's got a 3.8 GPA, which by all accounts is pretty good. Now, you may say, pretty good, that's great. You know, it's mostly A's and maybe a few B's. That is true. But if you're trying to go to Princeton, 3.8 is pretty good, but it's not the 4.3s, the 4.5s that many people who apply to Princeton also have. So take that with a grain of salt, and we'll get back to it. How did she do in her SAT? Well, she got a 1310. Once again, by all accounts, that's pretty good. It's probably in the 90-something percentile. However, is it Princeton good? Not so much. I think Princeton, somebody could check me on this, I think the average SAT in the range of the 1430s to 1550, something like that. So technically, she's out of range. Now, does that put her out of contention? We shall see. Let's move on. SAT subject tests. Most colleges of this caliber, Ivy Leagues and near Ivies, they're going to highly recommend that you take 2 SAT subject tests. Most of them are not requiring it anymore, but if you're a PrepWeller, I would highly advise that you take at least 2 of these SAT subject tests. They are 1-hour exams. They're scored out of an 800 on the scores, and she did pretty well. Again, I'm using this pretty well term. A 670 and a 690 is strong. It's strong work. Is it Princeton strong? A lot of people get 780s, 750s, 730s. So keep in mind, she's on the lower end in terms of strength for these academic numbers. Now, rigor of classes. That means what types of classes has she taken? She's somewhere in the middle. She didn't max out on every AP class. She didn't take every honors class, but she also didn't shy away from them. She took a balance of some AP classes, some honors classes, some non-weighted or honors classes. So she's somewhere in the middle, which I call the mix of regular and advanced classes. So if you take a step back and you look at these numbers, you have to think to yourself, is she going to get through this initial screen? She's going to make it through the screen in order to be considered by Princeton. That doesn't mean she's getting in. Not by a long shot. In fact, she's probably on the very much not going to get inside, but getting through the screen also, because there may be some other factors, which we'll get to. Extracurricular activities. These are things that you do outside of the classroom. Let's see where Erin stacks up. Her number one extracurricular activity is soccer. She's played soccer for 4 years. She's an elite soccer player. That's why I put that little asterisk there, because this is what I call in PrepWell language, her signature activity. This is the thing that she's shaping her application around. If she wants to say, hey, this is the type of person I am, soccer is going to be a big part of it. She's an elite soccer player, and we'll get back to that. Second thing, student council secretary. Pretty good, pretty typical position, pretty typical thing, activity and club for somebody to do in high school. So, you know, she's getting involved. Recycling club. Soccer camp counselor. That's aligned with her big signature activity, so that looks pretty good. Spanish club. Pretty typical. We'll see how that plays out. Meals on Wheels. I like to see a little bit of community service. Shows a little dimension to her. Pretty nice. And then Princeton summer soccer camp. We'll touch on that a little bit later on. Once again, it's well aligned with her branding for this application, which is an athlete, very good student, but an elite athlete. Now, if you want this worksheet, please DM me, email me, text me, get in touch with me. I will send you a PDF of this, which also comes with a glossary of terms, which describes what each of these different names and categories means. I'm going to talk about extracurriculars just for a quick second so you can get an idea of where these extracurriculars really end up in the big scheme. So a Tier 1 activity, I got this from collegevine.com. They have a really nice way of categorizing extracurriculars. Tier 1 activities are things that very few kids around the country can get. They're Olympic gymnasts, they're debate champions from the nation, not just debate champion in their school or in a small competition. They are nationally renowned, internationally renowned. Very, very difficult to have a type 1 activity. If you do, it's all over. Now, in Erin's case, if she was an all-American soccer player, let's call it top 12 in the country, that would be a tier 1 activity for her. She's not that good. She's elite and very good, but she's not tier 1. She's tier 2, which is a very good elite athlete, debater, musician, who has some type of recognition in her school, in her state, in her city, in her conference, but she hasn't raised to the level of there's only a handful of them in the country. That would be tier 2. Tier 3 is a mid-level leadership position in a pretty typical club, organization, or activity. And tier 4 would be you're a member, you're a participant in a club or activity that meets infrequently, very low impact, what we sometimes call filler. So I'm going to go through these quickly and let you know what types of activities I would assign to these different ones. As I said, soccer, 4-year varsity athlete, leader, captain, legit. She's going to be a tier 2 in that. Very good. Student council secretary, probably a tier 3, mid-level position in a typical activity or group. Recycling club, 3 to 4, depending on how much impact. Did they really do anything? How often did they meet? Soccer camp counselor. She did that for several weeks over the summer, so that's probably a tier 3. Now, if she was super active and like managing other people, other counselors, then maybe it rises to the level of tier 2, but it's probably a tier 3. Spanish club, not a leader, probably a tier 4, maybe a tier 3 if it's a very active club in her school. Meals on Wheels, she did that relatively infrequently. That would be a tier 4. She's a participant or a member. And then lastly, Princeton soccer camp over the summer. Pretty significant in the big picture, as we'll talk about, but is it a very compelling activity in terms of other students around the country? It's a 3-day showcase. Pretty good for her, probably a tier 3 or a tier 4. So when you step back from that, are these extracurriculars jumping off the page? In totality, middle of the road. However, don't lose track of that little asterisk as an elite athlete. We'll come back to that. Let's move down now. How well has Erin done academically? These honors and awards are typically not MVP of the soccer team, all-conference soccer player. That's not really what honors and awards is all about. It's more about academics. So she does have some things in honors and award for academics when we look forward to her senior year. She will be part of the California Scholastic Federation, for instance. She will be an academic All-American for soccer, which sounds kind of impressive. It typically means that you have above a 3.5 and you're on the team. So not earth-shattering, but nice to have. It's nice to have something to go into these spaces. Top 10% of her high school graduating class, pretty good. I'm not blown away by her awards and honors and academic things, but she's hanging in there. Let's move down to what others thought of Erin, because up till now, it's just what's on the page. So Princeton, Brown, Penn, other colleges want to know what other people think about you. So thankfully, as a PrepWeller, she's got this dialed in. She's established a relationship with her guidance counselor at an early age, so has a great relationship with Mr. Jones, has a great relationship with her history teacher, her AP environmental science teacher. So when she gets those letters of recommendation written at the end of this year, at the end of her junior year, they're going to be strong. They're probably not going to be once-in-a-lifetime student, but they're going to be very strong from these teachers because she's established and nurtured relationships with them thanks to PrepWell tasks. Let's move on. What you think of the school, what Erin thinks of Princeton. Princeton wants to know that you've shown them some love. Have you gone on a tour? Have you met the admissions rep? Yes, she's been on a tour because remember, she went to soccer camp there. So she took the opportunity to go on a tour. Has she met the school rep? No, not yet. Princeton has not sent a rep to her high school yet, so she doesn't really know that person. That'd be nice if she did, but not the end of the world. Social media, she's been following Princeton. She's been following Princeton soccer. So in that regard, she's dialed in. She's following them on Instagram. She's reading their blogs. She's doing all the things that we recommend people to do inside PrepWell Academy. She's also done one other thing, extremely important. She has developed a relationship with the soccer coach, a 3-year relationship, which entails emailing that coach, communicating with the coach, creating a highlight reel, sending it to the coach, inquiring about summer camps, inquiring about the coach and when they're going to be on the West Coast, and all these things that a student athlete who wants to go to an Ivy League school or a Division I school, all the things that they have to do to market themselves to coaches. Guess what? Erin's done those things, and she has the skill to back it up. So she has a long-standing relationship with the Princeton soccer coach. We'll talk about that, how that manifests itself in just a second. Let's move down to what you think about yourself. What does Erin think about herself? Now, she hasn't gotten to the point to write this main essay yet, or to put information and additional information, or to write those supplemental essays, but I know she's a pretty good writer, and I know she's pretty self-reflective, and I know she's going to write pretty good essays. She might not write a Pulitzer Prize winning essay, like some kids do, but she's not going to write a bad essay either. She's pretty strong in English. She's pretty strong in articulating herself. So my prediction, she's going to listen to the PrepWell lessons, and she's going to bang out a pretty strong, if not very strong, essay, which Princeton's going to want to see. Let's move down to the final one. What the school needs. The school needs things too. It's not just the student wanting to go to Princeton. It's that Princeton needs students. And of course, they want the best students. So what are some, what we call hooks? What are some reasons that Princeton might want kids? Well, maybe Erin, if she lived in South Dakota, would add some geographical diversity to Princeton's upcoming class. That might help her out a little bit. That might be a geographic hook. Unfortunately, she's from California, so there's not a lot of geographic hooks in California because it's such a big state and there's a lot of people who want to go to Princeton from California. Maybe Erin's parents went to Princeton, so she maybe gets a little bit of a legacy tip, or they'll look at her a little bit differently. Her parents did not go to Princeton. That's off the table. Maybe Erin's parents, even though they didn't go there, have contributed millions of dollars to Princeton, and maybe she becomes a development case because they think the school thinks that there's more money where that came from. Unfortunately, Erin's parents don't have that kind of money and didn't donate to a school they didn't go to, so that's off the table. Maybe Erin is a first-generation college student. Maybe her parents didn't go to college, and Princeton's looking for people who it's their first time in the family to go to college. Not the case. Both of Erin's parents went to college. So we're moving down the line here. Maybe Erin comes from an economically deprived area, and they're looking for more diversity in terms of low income, high income. Not the case. Erin does not live in an economically deprived area. However, one of the most powerful hooks, as you've probably known, is the athletic hook, meaning the coach, the Princeton soccer coach, gets a few spots, a few hallowed spots that they will send a list to the admissions office, and they will say, I want these 3 girls. I want these 4 girls. Schools have different numbers of people that the coach can request. Erin wants to be on that list. She wants to be in the top 3. She wants to be a recruited athlete with support from the coach. And guess what? The coach recently communicated with Erin that she's getting that support, that she's on the list. She's going to be a recruited athlete that coach sends down to admissions with a few other girls saying, she's my number 2. This is good news. And in fact, this news, even though it's at the bottom, will give me the conviction to say that Erin is going to Princeton. Congratulations, Erin. All the hard work will pay off. Now, mind you, there's no guarantee there, but it's a pretty good sense, there's a pretty good case that she will be going. She'll get a pre-read from admissions. Admissions will say as long as she keeps on this trajectory, she's good to go. She certainly can do the work at Princeton, and we want her because the coach wants her, and she's on that list. Now, the rub is, this is very difficult. Just because you're a good soccer player, or a good lacrosse player, or a good basketball player, does not mean that you automatically get on the list for that coach. That's what you want to do, but there are a lot of factors that might get in your way. For instance, maybe you're not smart enough. Maybe you ultimately are not good enough, and the coach doesn't put you on the list. Maybe the coach that likes you leaves, gets fired, and all of a sudden the new coach has no idea who you are. Maybe the school is not putting that much emphasis on that sport, and they reduce the number of spots that coach can allot for having support from admissions. Maybe you get injured. I don't really know. Maybe you can't afford it. There are a million different reasons why this scenario may not work out like I think it will for Erin. So be careful about putting too many eggs in one basket. I want you to go for this. I want you to aspire to this and do all the right things. Market yourself to the coach. Get good grades. Do extracurriculars. But be careful about thinking that sports is the only golden ticket and that it's going to guarantee you to get into a school like this, because there could be many obstacles. Good luck. Text me, email me. Let me know if this is helpful. I'd love to get feedback because we're going to do more. See you on the next one.